Opening thought. Why is it that some people always seem to struggle with money, no matter how hard they work, no matter how many jobs they take, or how many hours they put in? Why is it that even those who live frugally, who try to save every penny, still feel like they're just barely surviving? Is it simply bad luck? Or is there something deeper at play? According to the Buddha, poverty isn't just about the lack of money. It's rooted in karma, in our mindset, and in the quality of our intentions. And the good news is, it can be transformed, from the inside out. Introduction to the topic. In this video, we'll explore what the Buddha really taught about the causes of poverty, not only in terms of finances, but in our overall sense of spiritual well-being. And we'll look at how we can begin to break free, not just to gain more wealth, but to live with greater peace, clarity, and abundance in our hearts. The Buddha once said, "Ignorance is the root of all suffering." When someone lacks inner clarity, when they don't understand the law of cause and effect, when they don't know how to plant the seeds of wholesome actions, then no matter how hard they work, they may continue to struggle. You can be diligent, but if you don't know how to manage money, or if your actions are driven by greed, jealousy, or fear, those subtle energies can block the flow of prosperity. Poverty, in this view, is not just material, it's also a form of mental and spiritual blindness. In Buddhist teachings, every situation we face today, including our financial conditions, is the result of past karma. Karma simply means intentional actions, created through our body, speech, and mind. Each action is like a seed. When the conditions are right, it bears fruit. Those who have been dishonest with money, hoarded resources, or harmed others for personal gain, may find themselves, in this life, facing lack and hardship. On the other hand, someone who lives kindly, who shares, who gives freely even when they don't have much, naturally creates the causes for future abundance. It's not a punishment or a reward. It's simply the unfolding of energy that we ourselves set in motion. One of the most powerful ways to transform the karma of poverty is through generosity, but not just any kind. The Buddha emphasized the importance of giving with a pure heart. You don't need to give large sums of money. Even a kind word, a small act of service, or a smile can be an offering. Our lives become open, too. To truly shift into abundance, we must first shift from within, from clinging to letting go, from fear to trust, from isolation to connection. People with a poverty mindset often live in fear, always feeling like it's not enough, like something is missing. That mindset creates more anxiety, more stress, and more lack. So if you want to change your life, don't just work harder, work with awareness, with joy, and with the belief that your actions matter. Part 5. The danger of comparison and envy. One major block to abundance is envy, feeling bitter when others succeed. When we see someone doing well and immediately assume they're corrupt, lucky, or undeserving, we close our own door to growth. In Buddhism, there's a beautiful practice called sympathetic joy, the ability to genuinely rejoice in the happiness and success of others. When you celebrate someone else's blessings, you create space for those blessings to enter your own life. We don't need to compete. We don't need to compare. What we need is to stay on our own path. Water our own seeds, and trust that our time will come. Some people have very little, but live with deep peace and contentment. Others have millions, but are constantly anxious, controlling, and afraid. The Buddha said, "The one who knows contentment is truly rich." True wealth is not about what you have, but how free you are from being owned by it. It's about knowing how to live simply, how to appreciate what you have, and how to use your resources with wisdom and compassion. Because when money becomes just a tool, not your identity, it becomes a blessing, not a burden. Poverty is not random, it's the result of past karma. In life, we often think that poverty is simply a matter of circumstance, a lack of opportunity, a bad family situation, or just plain bad luck. Some blame their upbringing, some blame society, and some even blame the heavens for being unfair. But through the lens of the Buddha's teachings, these explanations are only surface level. Because in the Dharma, nothing happens by chance. Everything we experience, whether joy or sorrow, wealth or hardship, stems from seeds we've planted in the past. Whether in this lifetime or many lifetimes before. The Buddha didn't view poverty through a purely social lens. He looked into the heart of the matter, into our habits, intentions, and the quality of our actions, what Buddhism calls karma. And he pointed out 3 deep-rooted causes behind poverty: stinginess, dishonesty, and disrespect toward others' labor. The first cause is stinginess. If someone in the past had wealth or resources but refused to share, if they lived for themselves, closed their hearts to others' suffering, and clung tightly to what they had, then when the time comes that they need help, no one will open their hands to them. Not because life is cruel, but because they once closed the door of kindness themselves. They refused to be a giver, so now they live without receiving. The Buddha once said, "One who does not share when they have, will not receive when they are in need." This is not punishment. It's the natural law of energy, the law of cause and effect. Prosperity is a current, it flows where there is openness. When we hoard and cling, the current stagnates. But when we give, when we open, life flows again. Some people might ask, "But I don't have anything, what can I give?" The truth is, generosity isn't just about money. A kind word, a helping hand, a genuine smile, all of these are gifts. A rich heart always finds something to give. A poor heart, even if surrounded by wealth, still feels like it has nothing. The second cause of poverty is dishonesty, stealing, cheating, and gaining wealth through manipulation. Some use their cleverness not to create value, but to take from others what isn't rightfully theirs. They might appear to succeed in the short term, but peace never stays with them. Over time, their wealth slips away, their health deteriorates, their relationships break down. What seems like bad luck is, in truth, the karmic unraveling of unwholesome actions. In the eyes of the world, it may look like failure. But in the light of the Dharma, it is simply cause and effect unfolding. Wealth gained through unwholesome means cannot endure. It's like building a castle on sand, beautiful for a moment, but destined to collapse. A third reason for enduring hardship is something subtle, yet common: disrespect for others' labor. When we underpay those who work for us, when we try to bargain down already struggling sellers, when we take advantage of someone's desperation, we are not just being unkind. We are eroding our own merit. Some people live by the belief, the cheaper, the better. They seek deals at all costs, with no thought for the effort or dignity of those serving them. But every time we disregard the value of someone's work, we're silently closing the door to our own abundance. The universe has its balance. Those who live fairly and respect the efforts of others may not become wealthy overnight, but they build a foundation that poverty cannot shake. Another invisible cause of poverty lies in our mental habits, particularly envy. When we feel bitter about others' success, when we silently wish they would fail, when we refuse to celebrate someone else's joy, we narrow our own path to prosperity. Envy is not just a toxic feeling, it is a wall that keeps blessings out. On the other hand, those who practice sympathetic joy, who feel genuinely happy when others succeed, open themselves to blessings beyond their own making. The Buddha taught, rejoicing in others' merit is no different from creating it yourself. You don't have to do great deeds. If you see someone doing good, and your heart is full of joy for them, that joy is already a seed of your own merit. There are also those who live in poverty not only materially, but mentally. They lack motivation. They give up easily. They live by blame, excuses, and bitterness, rather than self-reflection and effort. Instead of looking within, they focus on what the world owes them. But in the Dharma, this is the root of suffering, a cycle that repeats itself. The Buddha never taught us to chase after money. But he did teach the importance of right livelihood, of earning honestly, without harming oneself or others, and of living with awareness and responsibility. Transformation doesn't begin by begging life to change. It begins with inner change, moment by moment, choice by choice, breath by breath. And at the heart of it all lies something easily overlooked: gratitude. Gratitude is one of the most powerful antidotes to poverty. When you're grateful for a simple meal, you're no longer starving. When you're grateful for a modest shelter, you're already at peace. When you're grateful for your body, even if imperfect, you begin to heal. A mind that's always focused on what's missing lives in scarcity. But a mind that appreciates what it has begins to radiate abundance. Gratitude isn't just a feeling, it's a state of consciousness. And in that state, even the smallest blessings multiply. The Buddha taught that poverty is a result, but we are not helpless. We can't change the past, but we can transform the present. We don't need to become rich to find peace. But if we want to live with both outer and inner abundance, it grows through your actions. And it blossoms in a heart that understands the quiet, powerful rhythm of karma. The poor mindset, how scarcity thinking keeps us trapped. There's a kind of poverty that goes far beyond money. It's the poverty of the mind. The kind that quietly shapes how we see the world, how we treat ourselves, and how we respond to others. It's subtle, and yet, it has the power to shape an entire life. Some people may have a steady job, a roof over their heads, food on the table, but inside, they still feel poor. Others may come from difficult circumstances, yet walk with lightness, contentment, and a sense of quiet joy. What makes the difference? It's the mindset. Because poverty doesn't just begin with an empty wallet. It begins with an inner belief: there's not enough. I'm not enough. Life is against me. And from that belief, we unconsciously attract the very conditions that keep us stuck. Part 1: Scarcity Thinking, the Seed of Lack. When your thoughts are filled with fear, fear of not having enough, fear of being left behind, fear of losing what little you have, your whole energy contracts. You make decisions from a place of tension. You hold back. You hesitate to trust. You always wait for the other shoe to drop. This mindset creates a kind of emotional poverty. You stop taking healthy risks. You stop opening up to people. You even stop dreaming. Because deep down, you believe it's safer to expect little than to be disappointed. But here's the paradox: when you constantly expect loss, life often reflects that right back to you. It's not that the world is punishing you. It's that your mind has created a filter, a lens that only lets in the evidence that supports your belief in scarcity. And when you live this way long enough, it starts to feel like the truth. Part 2: Comparison and Envy, Quiet Thieves of Joy. Another sign of a poor mindset is the habit of comparison. You look at others and think, why do they have more? Why do they get lucky, while I struggle? Why not me? Instead of drawing inspiration, you feel bitterness. Instead of celebrating others' joy, you shut down. You assume that their success somehow takes away from your potential. But the truth is, there is no shortage of abundance in this world. There is no limit to growth, or peace, or prosperity. But comparison narrows your vision. It tricks you into believing that life is a zero-sum game, that someone else's gain is your loss. When we live this way, we don't just close our hearts. We close the very path that blessings could take to reach us. Because here's a quiet truth: envy repels abundance. But gratitude and joy, especially for others, attract it. Part 3: Not Knowing Enough, the Bottomless Pit. A poor mindset is not just found in those who have little. It also shows up in those who have a lot, but still feel like it's never enough. More money. More status. More followers. More validation. But no matter how much they get, The anxiety doesn't go away. Why? Because the problem is not outside. It's inside. When you don't know what enough feels like, you will always feel lacking, even in the midst of plenty. The Buddha said, "Contentment is the greatest wealth." It's not a call to give up your dreams. It's an invitation to recognize the beauty in what you already have, and to build from there, rather than from restlessness or greed. Because when you can breathe and say, "This moment is enough," that's when real freedom begins. Part 4. Living for material gain, and forgetting the soul. One of the most painful traps of the poor mindset is this. We begin to believe that our worth is tied to what we own. We measure ourselves by our income. We chase jobs not for meaning, but for appearance. We spend more energy maintaining an image than nurturing our inner world. And slowly, without realizing it, we disconnect from our soul. But true abundance isn't loud. It's not about showing off. It's about being at peace. You can have millions and still feel hollow. You can live simply and feel rich in every way. When you live only for material gain, you forget to care for the very part of you that can never be bought: your heart, your peace, your presence. Part 5. How to shift from a poor mindset to a mind of wholeness. So how do we begin to shift? Not by forcing positivity. Not by pretending we're not struggling. But by slowly, gently, rebuilding the way we relate to life. Here are a few quiet, powerful practices. Practice daily gratitude. Every morning, name 3 things you already have, and feel their value. Let go of what's weighing you down. Feed your spirit. Meditate. Reflect. Spend time in silence. Connect with nature. Remember that peace is always closer than you think. Part 6. The real meaning of abundance. Abundance isn't about what you own. It's about how you feel when you wake up in the morning. It's about whether you can be fully present with the people you love. It's about whether your heart is soft, your mind is clear, and your soul feels at home, wherever you are. The poor mindset says, "I need more to be happy." The abundant mind says, "I am grateful for what is, and open to what comes." This is not about denying reality. It's about learning to live from a deeper truth, a truth that isn't shaken by numbers or labels or fleeting success. When you shift from scarcity to sufficiency, from comparison to compassion, from fear to trust, you begin to walk a new path. A path where life feels lighter. Where what you have is enough. And who you are, is more than enough. Merit and generosity, the art of giving that creates true abundance. There's a quiet paradox in life. Those who give freely often lack nothing. And those who cling tightly to what they have, no matter how much, often feel they never have enough. In the teachings of the Buddha, generosity isn't just about helping others. It's a sacred act of inner transformation. It's how we create the energy that opens us to joy, to trust, and to a deeper sense of connection with life. But many people misunderstand what generosity truly means. Some think, "I'll help when I have more. When I'm rich, I'll give back." But the Dharma reminds us, you don't need to have a lot to give, you just need a heart that knows how to share. True giving begins not from the wallet, but from the spirit. In Buddhist teachings, generosity, or dana, is a spiritual practice. It's a way of softening the ego, of loosening the grip of greed and fear. It's not about showing off. It's not about getting recognition. It's about letting go. And in the letting go, something beautiful happens. We become lighter. We become freer. And slowly, we begin to taste the sweetness of a life that flows, instead of clings. When we give from the heart, not out of guilt, not for praise, but simply because we care, we create merit. And merit isn't superstition. It's the invisible current of good energy that shapes the conditions of our future. The Buddha described 3 kinds of giving, each one a doorway to peace, not only for the one who receives, but for the one who offers. The most familiar form is giving material things, food, clothing, shelter, medicine, money. This is what most people think of when they hear charity. But even a small act, done with sincerity, can change someone's whole day, or even their life. You don't have to be wealthy to help. Sharing a portion of your meal, offering your time, or giving someone a ride, these are all expressions of the same generous heart. The real value is not in how much you give, but how you give, with love, presence, and no expectation. Then there's generosity through speech, kind words, supportive encouragement, honest listening, or simply holding space for someone when they're hurting. Sometimes, what someone needs isn't a solution, they just need to be seen, to be heard. A few sincere words can lift a heavy burden from someone's heart. And the person offering those words, they often find that they feel lighter too. And perhaps the highest form of generosity is sharing wisdom, offering insights that help others break free from confusion, suffering, and delusion. This doesn't mean you need to be a teacher or guru. Even sharing a small truth you've lived through, without preaching, just from your own experience, can be a powerful act of service. When you live with awareness and offer that understanding to others with humility, you're giving something more valuable than gold, clarity. And here's something many people don't realize. Giving never makes us poorer. Clinging does. When we're afraid to give, afraid we'll run out, afraid we'll be taken advantage of, we live in a tight, narrow space. But generosity opens the flow. It's like a river, when it's allowed to move, it nourishes everything around it, including itself. Holding on to everything blocks that flow. But letting go, with trust and kindness, turns our lives into something alive, something healing, something deeply aligned with the rhythm of nature. You don't need to wait until you have enough. That day may never come, because enough is an idea that keeps shifting. Real abundance doesn't begin when your bank account hits a certain number. It begins the moment you realize, I already have something I can offer. Some people live very modest lives, yet they're constantly helping others. Not because they're rich, but because they're rich in heart. And slowly, over time, those quiet acts of giving shape their lives into something deeply blessed. They attract kindness, support, joy, not because they chased it, but because they lived it. Merit is not just a belief. It's something you can feel. Have you ever met someone who seems to be protected by life? Even in difficulty, they remain peaceful. Even in chaos, they seem grounded. Things may not always go their way, but somehow, they're never truly broken. They give off a kind of quiet luck, a gentle glow. That's the power of merit. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. But it's real. It's the fruit of many small seeds, planted with love, over time, without expectation. It protects us. It supports us. It opens doors that hard work alone can't open. Generosity isn't just about changing the world. It's about changing ourselves. It's about shifting from me and mine to we and us. From fear to trust. From grasping to flowing. Every time you give, a coin, a meal, a smile, a truth, you're not just helping someone else. You're also reminding yourself, I have something to offer. I'm not empty. I'm connected. And that is a kind of wealth that no one can take away from you. So if you've ever felt small, or unsure, or like you don't have much to give, remember. Your presence is a gift. Your care is a gift. And your willingness to give, in whatever way you can, might just be the beginning of a future filled with quiet, lasting abundance. Temporary poverty, a wake-up call for spiritual growth. There are times in life when we find ourselves in difficult circumstances. Not enough money. Not enough work. Not enough of the comforts that others take for granted. We watch as the world moves forward, and we feel like we're falling behind. And in those moments, shame, sadness, and self-doubt can quietly creep in. But if we can sit with ourselves, really sit, in silence and honesty, we might begin to see something deeper. Poverty is not necessarily a misfortune. It is not a punishment. Sometimes, it's the most powerful spiritual teaching life could give us. Because when seen through the eyes of mindfulness, lack can become fertile ground. It teaches us humility. It deepens our sense of gratitude. And it invites us into the sacred path of spiritual practice. When you don't have much, you slow down. When what was once normal is taken away, you begin to cherish what remains. A simple meal becomes a blessing. A kind gesture moves your heart more deeply than ever before. And something inside you, something quiet and real, begins to soften. To grow. To awaken. Poverty doesn't make you less than anyone else. It is not something to be ashamed of. What makes us small is not poverty itself, but the belief that it defines our worth. Yes, some people collapse under hardship. They compare themselves to others. They retreat into silence. You are being called back to what truly matters. To the breath in your chest. To the stillness of morning. To the kind of peace that doesn't depend on possessions, approval, or performance. The Buddha never condemned the poor. He never said you must be wealthy to be free. Instead, he gently reminded us, what traps us is not outer poverty, but the inner chains of craving, comparison, and pride. Many of the great spiritual teachers, monks, sages, wanderers, lived with almost nothing. No house. No savings. No status. Yet they walked with a serenity, a depth. A freedom that no amount of wealth could purchase. They were rich in clarity. Rich in compassion. Rich in the kind of joy that arises from knowing you need very little to be whole. Because true wealth is not in your bank account, it's in your consciousness. Someone can live in a modern city, surrounded by comfort, yet constantly feel afraid, insecure, and never satisfied. Life invites us to go inward, to meet that depth. Hardship isn't here to break you. It's here to bring you home. Because when you have nothing left to cling to, you begin to ask, what is left that cannot be taken away? And in that quiet question, a doorway opens. You begin to remember. You are not your possessions. You are not your income. You are not your image. You are a soul in the middle of a vast journey, and sometimes, being stripped of everything is how you begin to see clearly. Many successful people, not just in finances, but in wisdom, have known poverty. And it was through that poverty that they learned patience. They learned gratitude. They learned to find strength not in outer things, but in the steady flame of their inner life. And when abundance returned, they carried it differently, with gentleness, with humility, and with a heart that knew how to give. So if you find yourself in a difficult chapter, please, don't rush to fix it. Don't numb it. Don't compare it. Let it speak to you. Let it strip away what you no longer need. Let it remind you of the quiet power you still carry. This is not the end of your path. It is a sacred pause. A moment of remembering. A time to root deeper, not in fear, but in faith. Sit with yourself in the stillness. Breathe. Feel your body, it's still here, still alive. And instead of falling into blame, offer a word of gratitude, even just one. Because even in the absence of everything, light still lives here. It may not be loud. It may not be glamorous. But it's steady. It's warm. It's real. And if you choose to stay close to that light, it will lead you, slowly, gently, out of the night. Poverty, if lived with wisdom, is not your prison. It's your teacher. It's your mirror. It's the space in which you can finally hear your soul again. And sometimes, in the quietest, most stripped back seasons of our lives, we discover that we were never lacking, only being invited to awaken. The Buddha taught, true wealth is wisdom. There's a kind of wealth that can't be stored in banks. It doesn't show up in luxury cars or big houses. And yet, it brings the deepest sense of abundance and peace. It's the wealth of wisdom, the richness of a mind that sees clearly, a heart that knows contentment, and a soul that finds joy in giving. Someone who possesses this inner treasure may live simply, yet feels full, because their wealth isn't in what they have, but in how they live. The Buddha once said, "Try to jia pu, he who knows contentment is truly rich." Just a few words, but enough to shift how we measure success, happiness, and fulfillment. While the world races after possessions, achievements. When a king met a monk. Long ago, there lived a king known for his immense wealth. His palace was covered in gold. His gardens stretched across hills. His halls were filled with music, silk, and fine food. Yet inside, the king was restless. He couldn't sleep well at night. He trusted no one. He felt haunted by an emptiness that wealth could not fill. One day, while traveling outside the palace, the king saw a monk sitting peacefully beneath a tree. The monk wore simple robes, held a plain alms bowl, and ate from a humble offering. But his face glowed with a deep serenity that caught the king's attention. Curious, the king asked, "You have no palace, no treasures, no servants, don't you feel poor?" The monk smiled and replied, "But in the Dharma, contentment doesn't mean settling. It means seeing clearly what truly matters. It's not about giving up on growth, it's about growing in the right direction. You can still dream. You can still build. But not from a place of lack or comparison. From a place of purpose. From peace." A wise person sees the impermanence of material things. They respect money. But they don't depend on it for happiness. They care for their belongings, but they don't let their self-worth rise and fall with what they own. Most of all, they know how to share. Or through wisdom, offering truth that helps someone break free from suffering. The Buddha taught, material wealth is like a dream. But merit, wisdom, and virtue stay with us, not just in this life, but beyond. What we buy today can wear out, get lost, or be taken. But what we give with compassion becomes a part of who we are. It shapes our character. It blesses our path. And it lives on in the hearts of others, redefining what it means to be rich. So, are you truly rich? That's not a question for your bank account. It's a mirror for your inner life. Do you know how to be content? Do you appreciate what's already here? Are you willing to share? Do you carry peace, clarity, and kindness in your daily life? If you can say, yes, even just a soft, quiet yes, then you're already richer than most. And if the answer is, not yet, that's okay too. Because real wealth isn't a destination, it's a direction. You can begin at any moment. You can start right where you are. Whether you're struggling or succeeding, remember. No one is richer than the one with wisdom. No one is more fulfilled than the one who knows enough. And no one is more deeply loved than the one who gives with a full and open heart. How to transform the karma of poverty, a path to real prosperity. No one chooses to be poor. No one wakes up hoping to struggle, to feel the constant weight of financial pressure. And yet, some people work hard, stay honest, and still feel stuck. They give their best day after day, and still live paycheck to paycheck, uncertain about tomorrow. Meanwhile, others seem to thrive effortlessly. Why is that? Why does wealth flow easily to some, while others chase it their whole lives without ever catching up? According to the Buddha, what we experience today is deeply rooted in our past karma. But karma is not fate. It's not a life sentence. It's a seed, and seeds can be changed, transformed, and redirected. So if you're caught in a cycle of scarcity, the answer isn't just to work harder or hustle more. The real shift begins inside, through a conscious change in how you think, live, and give. 1. Practice giving, even a little, every day. If poverty is the karmic result of past greed or stinginess, then the most direct way to shift it is through generosity. A cup of water. A kind word. A gentle smile. These simple acts become powerful when they come from sincerity. Every time you give without expecting anything in return, you break the inner grip of poverty. You let go of fear. You make space for abundance to flow. Generosity softens the tightness inside. It tells the universe, I trust. I'm not afraid. Work honestly, and let go of greed. One of the hidden roots of lasting poverty is dishonest work, or working from a place of greed. Yes, money can come through manipulation or shortcuts. But money gained through deceit never stays for long. It creates more suffering than peace. Because money without merit is unstable, it lacks the blessing of virtue. If you lie, cheat, or take what's not yours, even in small ways, you're planting the seeds of future scarcity. That's not punishment. It's just how karma works. But when you work with honesty, fairness, and kindness, you're building a solid foundation. The wealth might come more slowly, but it will come with peace, with trust, and with long-term stability. There is deep spiritual power in clean work. Not just doing your job well, but doing it with care. Respecting yourself. Respecting others. Taking pride in doing what's right, even when no one's watching. That's the kind of work that builds unseen wealth. It builds character, trust, reputation, and invites opportunities that align with your integrity. 3. Chant, meditate, and keep precepts, clear old karma. Create new blessings. Chanting and meditation aren't just rituals for monks or elders. They're powerful tools for clearing old karmic patterns and planting new seeds of prosperity. When you chant, when you repeat the name of the Buddha, when you sit in stillness, you are cleaning the mind. You're releasing past conditioning. You're creating space for clarity, for inspiration, and for right action to arise. And when you keep the precepts, when you avoid stealing, lying, harming, intoxicating, you're not just being moral. You're preserving your spiritual energy. You're protecting your own future. Every time you choose not to deceive, not to cut corners, not to act from greed, you strengthen your inner field of merit. You become like a magnet for good things, not because you're chasing them, but because your energy invites them. These practices don't promise instant riches, but they create real wealth, the kind that brings peace of mind, stable relationships, and doors opening in unexpected ways. Changing karma takes time, but every step matters. Karma doesn't change overnight, but it changes, gently, steadily, with every mindful choice you make. So don't underestimate the power of small actions. 1 coin in the donation box. 1 mantra before bed. 1 act of integrity when it would have been easy to lie. These things matter. They are seeds. And in time, with patience, with consistency, they bloom into blessings. If you're going through a hard time financially, don't lose hope. Start where you are, with what you have. A sincere heart. A quiet wish to live better. A small act of kindness. A breath of trust. Because poverty is not your identity. It's not your destiny. It's just a temporary condition, one that can shift, soften, and transform. And as you build good karma, as you walk the path of compassion, generosity, and mindfulness, you won't just gain money. You'll gain real prosperity, the kind that can never be stolen, lost, or taken away. Poverty is not destiny. If you understand the law of karma, you can start planting new seeds. Nothing in this life is fixed, not even hardship. We're not poor because fate has abandoned us or because we are unloved. We struggle because, perhaps in this life or lives before, we unknowingly planted seeds of lack, through greed, selfishness, or living only for ourselves without compassion. But the beauty of karma is this: it doesn't punish, it simply responds. You reap what you sow. And if today, you begin to sow new seeds, with kindness, with generosity, with a grateful heart, then new outcomes will quietly start to take shape. You don't have to do anything grand. Even the smallest acts, done with sincerity and patience, can shift the course of your life. No one stays rich forever without merit. No one stays poor forever if their heart learns to love and share. Wealth can come and go. Possessions can be lost. But merit, the invisible blessing of our good thoughts, words, and actions, follows us always. Like a shadow that never leaves, like a flame that keeps lighting the way. Someone may appear wealthy but burn through it quickly if they never give, never care, never respect others. And someone with almost nothing can begin to rise, gently, slowly, just by living with kindness and opening their heart to those around them. Because when your heart opens, the universe begins to open back. New energy begins to move. And the cycle of scarcity begins to soften. There is no such thing as someone who cannot change. There are only people who haven't yet taken that first small step toward a better way of living. You can begin today. Give something, however small. Offer a word of comfort to someone who's hurting. Wake up and whisper a quiet "thank you" before the day begins. New seeds always begin in silence. But when the time is right, when the heart is ready, they bloom into blessings greater than anything you thought possible. What touched you the most from the Buddha's teaching today? It doesn't have to be something profound. Just be honest. Be real, exactly as you are, in this moment, reading these words after listening to a timeless truth. Maybe it was a sentence that stopped you in your tracks. Maybe it was a story that felt a little too close. Or maybe, it wasn't words at all, just a quiet feeling rising in your chest, a sense that something inside you has shifted, even just a little. If so, I invite you to share it below. Not for likes. Not for attention. But as a simple offering, a way of saying to yourself, I'm here. I'm waking up. I'm walking this path with sincerity. When you write it down, even just a sentence, you are planting a seed of awareness. You are listening deeply to your inner voice, and giving it space to be seen, not by the world, but by your own heart. And who knows, maybe someone else reading your words is going through the same thing. Maybe your quiet reflection will be the light they needed. Maybe it will remind them that they're not alone. In a world full of noise and rushing, sometimes a few honest words can heal more than we realize. And if you want to keep exploring Buddhist wisdom as it applies to everyday life, hit subscribe. Not just to follow a channel, but to create a small space in your life where you can return again and again, each time your heart needs rest. In this noisy world, we all need a pause. A place to breathe. To listen. To come back to ourselves, without judgment, without pressure. This channel won't make big promises, but it will gently remind you of what's already true. You don't need to become someone else to live with awareness. You only need to return to who you already are, quietly, honestly, and with compassion. Every video here is just a mirror, reflecting back to you the wisdom that's already inside. Reminding you that with every breath, you have the power to slow down. To choose clarity. To live with presence and peace. Subscribing isn't about notifications. It's about intention. It's a quiet way of telling yourself, I want to keep walking this path, step by mindful step. Here, you'll never be judged. You'll never be rushed. You'll never be expected to be perfect. You'll simply be invited to reflect, to feel, to grow at your own pace. To remember that spiritual practice is not a race, but a return. If one day you feel lost, come back. If one night you can't sleep, play a video and let the words hold you. Let them remind you of the part of you that is always whole, even when life feels broken. Don't just be a viewer. Be a practitioner. Be someone who walks the talk, even quietly, even slowly. Be someone who spreads light, through your reflections, your presence, and your small, consistent choices to live with wisdom. There is a call, not from the world, but from your own awakening heart. If something you heard today made you pause, if a quiet truth touched something deep inside you, then maybe, just maybe, you're ready to go deeper on this path, the same path the Buddha once walked, the path of compassion, clarity, and inner freedom. So begin, now. Leave a comment below, just one honest thought from your heart. Subscribe, not for this channel, but for your own journey back to peace. This is your space. This is your time. And this is your reminder, you are not alone. You are already enough. And the path is always here, waiting for your next step.